But first, let's deal with some bigger issues. My old friend Genghis Khan used to say, there is no value in anything until it is finished. Now, that has two possible meanings. One meaning is that all your efforts are worthless if you don't finish the job. But another meaning is that you can't tell whether something is good or bad until it's done. Both of these meanings apply to Donald Trump reopening the government under terms essentially dictated by Nancy Pelosi. There's no question the president handed Pelosi, the Democrats, and the press, but I repeat myself, a chance to gloat over their victory. But whether he'll ultimately accomplish his goal of greater border security is less clear. Because there's another thing old Genghis knew. It doesn't matter whether you defeat your enemies while you're charging at them or in retreat, as long as you ultimately defeat them. One thing is clear, the wall and border security are part of a much larger debate about where true political power is going to lie in the future. So the government is open now, and instead of, not doing anything because the government is closed, now they can not do anything because they're a bunch of raving incompetents who can't agree on anything or get anything done. So Trump basically, the big question is, did he cave? But of course, that question is for children. That's a child's question. Did he cave? He was in the midst of a strategy where he thought, well, I'm going to keep the government closed until they give me something from my wall. And Nancy Pelosi said, no, we're not going to negotiate. And she used the power of the press, which is always, Glenn Reynolds, an Instapundit, said today, it's like air support. It doesn't mean you win, but it's a big help, to turn the debate toward the suffering of federal workers not being paid instead of the suffering of people getting killed by guys coming over the border illegally. So here's Trump making the announcement.
I will sign a bill to open our government for 3 weeks until February 15th. I will make sure that all employees receive their back pay very quickly or as soon as possible. It'll happen fast. I am asking Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell to put this proposal on the floor immediately. After 36 days of spirited debate and dialogue, I have seen and heard from enough Democrats and Republicans that they are willing to put partisanship aside, I think, and put the security of the American people first. I do believe they're going to do that. They have said they are for complete border security, and they have finally and fully acknowledged that having barriers, fencing, or walls, or whatever you want to call it, will be an important part of the solution.
So there's going to be a 17-member bipartisan panel. They're going to negotiate. Trump has recently said that he gives them under a 50-50 chance of succeeding. He says that he's not sure whether he's going to declare an emergency. If they don't get it in 3 weeks, the government runs out of funds again. They might try spending less. Maybe they'll keep the government open more longer. But the one thing Trump did get was agreement in the press. Real Clear Politics ran an article called the headline, "Trump finally brings the media together. All agreed he caved." This is by Caleb Litaru. He says the media's reaction to Trump's spectacular reversal was perhaps best summarized by the New York Daily News Saturday front page, headlined "Caveman." I saw that one. I thought that was pretty good. The HuffPost ran similar headlines, including "This is a cave, not a wall." And I love this one. "Trump caves on the shutdown to a woman who questioned his manhood." You think they're trying to leave a mark? You think they're trying to get him riled up? Politico titled it "Complete Total Surrender." The conservative press was not much kinder. The Washington Examiner offered "Art of the Bad Deal yields an F." Trump's cave into House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Ann Coulter, of course, called Trump. I love Ann. You can always really rely on her to just really go for the throat. She called Trump the biggest wimp ever to serve as president of the United States. Breitbart proclaimed Pelosi Trump's Trump, while the Gateway pundit tendered Trump caves. And the New York Times, I love the New York Times, a former newspaper, they ran a war-declared headline. It went across the entire page, Trump's stinging defeat or something like this. Listen, all of that is fair to a degree. As a snapshot, Trump tried a technique. He started to realize it was not going to work. The narrative of suffering people not being paid was powerful. People do use government services. There was a danger that something might happen, like an airplane crash, and that would have been a genuine disaster. There would have been no coming back from that. And I think he just thought, this isn't working. Jared Kushner, I guess, is moving behind the scenes. to do some of this negotiation. But he said it wasn't working. And of course, if you're trying something that's not working, if you're trying a technique that's not working, pulling out of that technique does give you this momentary failure, but in the bigger picture, it really matters what happens at the end. Genghis Khan really did do this. Because he was on horseback, his guys were on horseback, and he was invading cities. He knew that whether he killed people while he was retreating or killed people while he was attacking didn't matter as long as he killed people. That was his strategy. So if he could lure people out of the cities to chase after him and he could turn around and kill them, it didn't matter to him whether he was running away. And I think Trump feels the same way. Trump is basically if you've watched him, he's been very un-Trumpy of late. I talked about this last week. He's been very much the man of reason, very much coming out, making offers, making reasonable offers. And while his poll numbers have remained essentially the same, Pelosi's poll numbers, her negatives on her poll numbers have skyrocketed, or they've spiked. And she doesn't have to worry about that because she lives in San Francisco, where people are willing to let people die in the streets as long as they can stay in their rich, Silicon Valley homes and tell themselves how virtuous they are. So she's not going to lose any votes. But that matters to other Democrats, and that's what Trump is counting on. Mick Mulvaney, the acting chief of staff, was on Fox yesterday, and he was talking about the fact that he thinks that there are people in the rank and file who are now willing to turn against the leadership. Let's hear. This is the second one of his. It's cut 4.
Some of the rank and file, also some of the leadership. Dick Durbin said some decent things about a border barrier. Jim Clyburn, my former colleague from South Carolina, said that if the experts thought we really needed a barrier, he could vote for it. So this gives a chance to the Democrats to prove whether or not they really do believe in border security and are willing to go against Nancy Pelosi, or whether or not they are so beholden to their leadership that they're never going to vote for a barrier on the southern border.
Well, so we'll see if he's got that, actually has got some of the mood. The other thing Mick Mulvaney said, I just want to throw this in here because I wish Trump had made this argument before, is he points out that the $5.7 billion that Trump is looking for is not a random number. I've made fun of that number because it doesn't seem like enough, but he made a very good point here.
The president wants his $5.7 billion. Keep in mind, why is that number? It's not a number that's made up. It's what the experts have told him. He's listened to DHS. I've been in on the meetings. He's listened to CBP. He's listened to ICE. We have identified the top 17 highest priorities in terms of where we can put up barrier to discourage people from crossing the border illegally. It's about 243 miles. That's what's driving this discussion. It's not a made-up magical number of $5.7 billion. It's the wall where we need it the most and where we need it the quickest. Mm-hmm. That's what's driving this. So this is not something where the president's married to a number. He's married to border security, which is the right thing for the president of the United States to do.
So these are the things that actually will carry the day if they keep it up. Common sense, explaining what they're talking about. This is why Trump has been so un-Trumpy. He's basically waiting. The biggest weapon that Trump has is that the Democrat Party has gone insane. They have lost the plot of America. They've lost the plot of freedom. And this is part of it. Border security is part of it. Ann Coulter, I was laughing before how Ann Coulter called Trump a wimp, but she was on Bill Maher's show, and she's talking to a raving left-wing audience, and she explained to them, the audience, why this is not really a question of left and right. Here's her telling Maher's audience why they should care.
We've been lied to over and over and over again by politicians, by respectable people, by people like Mitt Romney and George Bush, Obama and Clinton. We're going to protect your jobs.
Not to the same
and
degree.
If I could just say for a second to an audience that is not wild about me, I think this build the wall line has become, it sounds like Crooked Hillary or lock her up. It isn't that. You're being played. This is, as Bernie Sanders said, a Koch brothers idea. This is lots of cheap labor pouring into this country is good for employers. It's not good for employees. You know who wants it? The Koch brothers. They want it. Rupert Murdoch wants it. My party wants it. Why hasn't Trump been able to get it through the first 2 years?
The point is that the wall won't stop that.
Because the Republicans don't want it. It's all of mass immigration. It's our legal immigration. It's no E-Verify. The wall is a big part of that.
But the reason...
And you're being played to have everybody keep acting like this is some sort of racist thing. Working class wages have gone down. Middle class wages have been stagnant. It's great for the rich. It's good for you.
But
it's bad for people who work.
Yeah, Ann is making a great point here, and it goes even beyond this. First, I have to just say, as always, kudos to Bill Maher. He is a snarky, one-sided guy, and he's half the stuff he says is half true. But he will have Ann on and have a friendly conversation with her, and I think it's great. I think it is great the two of them can talk like that, and the audience, you even heard some people tentatively applauding, except they were afraid for their lives. But, she was making this great point. The issue is it's not just the cheap labor and all this. It's the issue of national sovereignty and the will of the people. Your freedom, the freedom of individuals, is protected by national sovereignty. Why? Because we have a constitution that we can hold our leaders accountable for. We can't hold accountable to. We can't hold the UN accountable to the Constitution, just like Britain can't hold the EU accountable to its traditions and its laws. Your freedom is protected. We are in a gigantic argument. We are in a gigantic argument about where political power lies. Does it lie with the elites who are the experts, who know everything, who always get it right? Or does it lie with those dumb, fat, racist, bigoted people with their MAGA hats out in some middle of nowhere where they're taking opiates? Are they going to be, because the thing is, you can't love freedom if you don't love ordinary people. If you think ordinary people are dumb, bigots, ignorant, mean, cruel, then why should you expect them to be free? Why should you want it? And